Hello, let's talk today about the benefits of cassava. Is cassava good for you? Find out if it's worth consuming cassava in your day. And your 10 health benefits of cassava. Manihot esculenta, known as manioc, castelinha, uaipi, sweet manioc, maniva, maniveira, bread and butter manioc and bitter manioc, is a tuberous plant in the Euphorbiaceae family. This plant is native to South America, however it is present in many regions of the world. Its consumption can only occur after cooking that reduces HCN, hydrogen cyanide, content to very low levels. As hydrogen cyanide is a very volatile compound, its reduction occurs due to the cooking temperature that causes its evaporation. It is the third largest source of carbohydrates in the tropics, after rice and maize, and is one of the main staple foods in the developing world, existing in the staple diet of more than 500 million people. Spread to different parts of the world, today Nigeria is its biggest producer. Greetings and welcome to Nature of the Amazon channel. I ask you to subscribe and activate the bell. Leave yours. To strengthen the channel and share it with your friends and family so they can get to know our history of knowledge, and let's go by video. Etymology. Cassava originates from the Tupi term Matioji Mandio or Manioc, which means house of Mani, Mani being the benevolent goddess of the Guarani who transforms into Manioc. Apim originates from the Tupi term uaipi. Maniva originates from the Tupi term maniwa. In Brazil, the term manioc or wild manioc is used for plants with HCN greater than 100 mg/kg of product, while the term cassava, manioc mansa or cassava is used in plants that have less than 50 mg of HCN per kg of fresh root without bark. Phytosanitary diseases. Diseases are among the main causes of fall in production and productivity of cassava culture. In the state of Para, for example, root rot is responsible for the greatest losses. Root rot affects mainly crops in the northern region. It is estimated that in the Amazon region, in floodplain areas the loss reaches more than 50%, in areas of upland 30%. In areas where soils with poor drainage of rainwater occur, it is observed that these losses are, in most cases, total. The symptomatology observed in the roots makes it possible to distinguish between two groups of rots. Soft rot. The etiological agents are Phytophthora and Pythium species, currently classified in the Chromista kingdom, Straminopola. Such phytopathogenic organisms infect plants, causing soft rot, resulting from the necrotic characteristics of the pathogens that act in the maceration of reserve tissues, leading to the disintegration of the roots, which release a strong and characteristic odor. The yellowing and wilting of the aerial part of the plant are reflex symptoms of the rotting of the roots, usually observed after 2 or 3 months of intense rainfall. Dry rot. Fusarium, Satellidium, Lasiodiplodia and Diplodia species are hyperlink https://pt.wikipedia.org/w/index.php ?title =Diplodia &action =edit &redlink k =1 /oat Diplodia, Pagina and AO exist, the main etiological agents of dry rot, which is characterized by the occurrence of dry necrotic areas and or blackened punctuations in the internal tissues of the roots and also on the bark. Cultivars, varieties. The cassava crop, 14, has wide genetic variability, represented by the large number of cultivars available in Brazil, its place of origin. Until 2006, more than 4,000 of them had already been catalogued in Brazil, kept in collections and germplasm banks of several research institutions. Most of these cultivars are the result of the selection and conservation work of farmers in their crops, 4 years in a row, the so-called Creole varieties. The manioc cultural cycle is the period from planting to harvesting. Cassava cultivars have cycles ranging from 6 to 36 months, and based on them they are classified into early, cycle from 10 to 14 months. Semi-early, cycle from 14 to 16 months. Late, cycle longer than 18 months. The same cultivar hardly behaves in a similar way in all places, because due to its high interaction between the genotype and the environment, it is characterized by localized adaptation, and the behavior of the same cultivar can vary even between crops of farmers in the same region, as a result of differences in soil or crop management. It is considered a rustic plant with a wide adaptability, being cultivated in all tropical regions, adapting to the most varied conditions of climate and soil. Regardless of its wide genetic variability and its interaction with the environment, the main ecological parameters of cassava are constituted by temperature, solar radiation, photoperiod, water regime, and soil. The main criterion used in the selection of cultivars for human consumption is the existence of low content of hydrocyanic acid in the roots. Characteristics such as cooking time of the roots, palatability, and absence of fibers in the cooked mass and resistance to spoilage after harvest should also be considered. Cultivars recommended for animal feed should have high root and shoot yield, good foliar retention, high protein content in the leaves, and a minimum content of hydrocyanic acid, both in leaves and roots. Nutritional composition. Cassava is rich in fiber, gluten-free, and has 3 times more calories than potatoes. It has 2 types of carbohydrate, amylopectin and amylose. Nutritional value per 100 g of cassava. Calories, kcal, 160. Proteins, gram, 1.36. Lipids, gram, 0.28. Carbohydrates, gram, 38.06. Fibers, gram, 1.8. Calcium, mg, 19. Vitamin C, mg, 20.6. Toxicity. Cassava differs from other starch-producing plants in its lean amarin, acetone beta-glycoside content. Cyanohydrin, which can generate free cyanide, anion CN-, which, in water, forms hydrocyanic acid, hydrogen cyanide or hydrogen cyanide, HCN, an extremely volatile compound. However, it is highly toxic and in small amounts can cause ataxia and death. This is due to the fact that ionic cyanides combine with iron and hemoglobin, blocking the reception of oxygen by the blood, killing the exposed person by suffocation. For this reason, it is necessary to cook cassava before consumption in order to reduce the HCN content to values below 0.5 mg/kg of product. The lethal dose of HCN for humans ranges from 50 to 60 mg per kilogram of live weight. Regarding the amount of HCN/kg in the fresh root without bark, the cultivars are classified as tame cassava or cassava, less than 50 mg, no bitter taste, used for human consumption, cooked, fried or roasted, enough processing to make them safe. Moderately poisonous, between 50 to 100 mg. Wild or poisonous, greater than 100 mg, they have a bitter taste, are used only for industrial purposes, and can only be consumed after processing, in the form of flour, starch and other products. Cassava, tame, table or cassava, as it has low levels of hydrocyanic acid, less than 50 mg/kg, can be consumed after little culinary processing, cooking in water, or light cooking followed by frying, etc. However, for cassava, wild cassava, as it has high levels of hydrocyanic acid, greater than 50 mg/kg, it must be cooked for a minimum of 50 hours at a temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. The most used way to achieve this is the traditional processing that consists of grinding followed by removing the manipura, or manipuera, released liquid that can be used to produce gum and tucupi, and finally roasting. Agricultural production. Cassava processing in Cauca, Colombia. Cassava is planted in more than 100 countries, being the largest producers Nigeria, Thailand, Brazil, Indonesia, Angola, Ghana, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, respectively. Approximately 25.9 million tons were produced in Brazil, 8.9 million in Angola, 5 million in Mozambique, 50,000 in Timor-Leste, 48,000 in Guinea-Bissau and 6.3 thousand tons in São Tomé and Príncipe. In 2016, Nigeria led the production of root cassava with 20%, followed by Thailand, 11%, Indonesia, 9%, and Brazil, 8%. In 2010, the average yield was 12.5 tons per hectare of cassava crop worldwide. The most productive cassava farms worldwide were in India, with a national average yield of 34.8 tons per hectare in 2010. The largest producers in Brazil are Para, Paraná, Bahia, and Maranhão. Cassava plays a vital role in the food security of rural economies in sub-Saharan African countries due to its drought resistance, low soil fertility and pests. World production. Country production in tons per year. Nigeria. 59,475,202. Thailand. 31,678,017. Congo Republic. 29,952,479. Ghana. 20,845,960. Brazil. 17,644,733. Indonesia. 16,119,020. Vietnam. 9,847,074. Angola. 8,659,552. Mozambique. 8,525,451. Cambodia. 7,646,022. World total 277,808,759. Legends. The folklorist Camara Cascudo records some myths about cassava. Are they? Among the Persis, people of Mato Grosso, Brazil, the story is as follows. Zé Chamer and his wife Cocotero had a pair of children, the boy Zokwai and a girl, Aciolo, who was despised by her father, who never spoke to her except for whistles. Embittered by her father's contempt, the girl asked her mother to bury her alive. She resisted the strange appeal, but after a while, answered her. The girl was buried in the savannah, where the heat displeased her, and then in the countryside, also a place that had bothered her. Finally, she was buried in the woods where she pleased. He told his mother not to look when he screamed, which she did after some time. The mother ran to the place, where she found a beautiful tall bush that was low as she approached. The Indian Cocotero, however, took care of the plant that she later harvested from the ground, discovering that it was manioc. Among the Baiju, the legend tells of a deer that saved the Baiju, fish of the Proctocephalus family, who, to reward him, gave him manioc seedlings that he had hidden under the river bed. The deer kept the plant for food for his family, but the hero of the Baiju, Kari, managed to get the seed from the animal, which he distributed among the women of the tribe. The legend of Mani was recorded in 1876 by Couto de Magalhães. In the public domain, this was the folklorist's record. In times gone by, the daughter of a savage chief, who lived in the vicinity of the place where the city of Santarém is today, appeared pregnant. She used begging, threats and finally severe punishments in vain. Both in the face of begging and in the face of punishments, the girl remained inflexible, saying that she had never had intercourse with any man. The chief had decided to kill her, when a dream appeared to her. White man who told him not to kill the girl, because she was effectively innocent, and had not had intercourse with a man. After 9 months, she gave birth to a beautiful white girl, this last fact causing the surprise not only of the tribe as from the neighboring nations, who came to visit the child, to see that new and unknown race. The child, who was called Mani and who walked and spoke precociously, died after a year, without having fallen ill and without showing signs of pain. It was her and buried inside the house, the tomb being uncovered and watered daily, according to the custom of the people. After some time, a plant sprouted from the hole, which, being completely unknown, they failed to uproot. It grew, flourished, and bore fruit. The birds that ate the fruits got drunk, and this phenomenon, unknown to the Indians, increased their superstition for the plant. The earth finally split, they dug it up and thought they recognized in the fruit that they found the body of Mani. They ate it and thus learned to use manioc. 28. Camara Cascudo adds that the name manioc comes from Mani plus Ocae, meaning house of Mani. It is, according to this author, a Tupi myth, retold in later works, such as Lendas dos Indios do Brasil, by Herbert Baldas, 1946, and Antologia de Lendas dos Indios Brasileiros, by Alberto de Costa e Silva, 1956. Use. Brazilian cuisine. Fried cassava in Guyana, cassava pudding in Belize and cornbread. As can be found in the classic work Casagrande and Senzala, when the first Europeans arrived in Brazil, they were amazed at the abundance of manioc flour, much more abundant and easier to obtain than European wheat flour. In colonial Brazil, it was one of the main foods used by the settlers. In the form of flour, it was part of several dishes, such as cake, baiju, soup, angu, and, sometimes, mixed only with water or with beans and meat, when there was one. Cassava starch can also be processed into pellets to form sago. The types of common flours in the north region of Brazil: water flour, tapioca flour, uaipi flour, surui flour. Colombian cuisine. Caramanola is a typical Colombian dish and consists of a type of cassava dumpling in the form of a pie. Cassava bread was prepared by members of the people of Saliva in the province of Casanare, Colombia, in early 1856. Philippine cuisine. In the Philippines, cassava cake or kakanin is one of the most popular and appreciated homemade desserts. It is made from grated cassava, kamatang kahoy, mixed with coconut milk, eggs and butter and topped with a creamy milk mixture. It is also called cassava bibinka. Crumbs. In Brazil, the tuberous root of cassava is consumed in several ways. There are many types of cassava flour, which are the result of grating, pressing and drying the cassava root, and tapioca flour or cassava flour, which is made with the fine starch from the decanting of the pressed juice of cassava dough. From fermented cassava, puba is produced. Manufacture of cassava flour in an artisanal way, in the interior of the municipality of São Miguel do Tocantins, in Tocantins, Brazil. Drinks such as com indigenous are also made from it, made through fermentation. Through a distillation process, a cachaça or Manioc Brandy is also produced, tequila. It has a high alcohol content. It is common in the state of Maranhão but is little known in the rest of Brazil. From it, another flour is also made, the polvilho, manioc starch, sweet or sour, which is used for the preparation of several typical Brazilian foods, such as cheese bread. Although frequent in African and Asian countries, where they were taken by colonizers Ibericos, the habit of using the leaves of the plant for food, in Brazil, only occurs in the north region. In Africa, it is common to consume, in addition to the root, also the young leaves in the form of spaghetti. In Mozambique, these are piladas, ground in a pestle, together with garlic and the dry root flour itself, and then normally cooked with shellfish, crab or shrimp. This food is called matapa and is one of the most popular in Mozambican cuisine. In Angola, this asparagus is known as casaca. Different types of cassava flour for sale in Imperatriz, Maranhão, Brazil. Cassava flour is commonly prepared from wild cassava. To extract the manna pura, it is necessary to use a tipatai or another type of press. From it, the cairima or carima is removed. In popular parlance, sprinkle. Manna pura originates from the Tupi terms. Mani equals the girl's name. Puera, guerra, equals has the meaning of bad, the bad part of the mani, what once was old. Used by Native Americans. To support these children, wood flour was brought from the interior, from a distance of 30 miles. As it was very laborious and difficult because of the roughness of the way, to our father, Father Manuel de Nobrega, it seemed better in the Lord to move to this village of Indians, which is called Piratininga. For this reason, some of the brothers sent to this village in the year of the Lord 1554, arrived there on the 25th of January and celebrated the first Mass in a poor and very small house on the day of the conversion of Saint This house. Cassava widely used as food by natives from Brazil to Mexico. Cassava was of enormous importance for the food of the Indians and the first settlers of Brazil and, as can be seen above in the excerpt of a letter from Father José de Anchieta from 1554, it was the reason for the foundation of the city of São Paulo. The Cinta Largas of Mato Grosso and Rondônia obtained the root in a peculiar way. Instead of pulling out the entire foot, as almost all other Indians did, their women dug the soil and removed only the large roots, leaving the smaller ones to develop. The Tupinambas of Bahia made jaroba, a type of com, which also served as food. Cassava was peeled, cut into pieces, boiled, pounded in a pestle, boiled again with more water and placed in a vessel to ferment. The cooked mass was not chewed as in most coans, being kneaded in the pestle and still the fermentation process took place. Mothers fed young children the gyroba, which they believed allowed them to develop into strong, healthy adults. In the states of Maranhão, Piauí and Ceará, tequila, a drink resulting from the distillation of cassava, is produced. The Macus of Para, who were nomads, did not grow manioc. The Omaguas of the upper Amazon harvested manioc and buried it, leaving it to rot partially and thus consuming it. The Camaiuras of Mato Grosso, to turn Baiju, carved a spade out of wood, which had a semi-circular end. The Cayabis of Mato Grosso roasted cassava with the skin on the coals, discarded the skin and left it to soak in water. The next day, the cassava was mashed and eaten cold. Some tribes did not know the tipitai, such as the Paracanas, from para. They made the flour by cutting the manioc, cooking it and squeezing it on a mat to remove the liquid part. The cassava balls were dried in a rack, crumbled, sieved and toasted. From cassava, the Amerindians obtained a wide variety of derivatives. Aram, cassava dough with pepper. Baiju, cassava bread is made into crumbs and sprinkled with water, resulting in a sticky dough that is spread over a hot plate, being continuously turned from one side to the other. The Cayabis from Mato Grosso made the baiju by leaving the wild manioc to soak for a few days. Then it was peeled and well dried in the sun. It was pounded in a pestle, moistened and roasted on one side. The Tsukahami or Megaron of the same region wrapped the cassava dough in a square shape in a banana leaf and placed it between heated stones, covered it with more leaves and earth and let it bake for hours. The Zirianas of Roraima roasted not only baiju in large clay discs, but also game meat. A different way of preparing baiju was practiced by the Halote Sioux of Mato Grosso. They removed the ashes and embers from the fire and placed the flour in the place, which was compressed until it formed the baijus. Ashes and embers were placed on them, and they were roasted in 15 minutes. The embers were removed with a stick and the baijus beaten to remove the ash. The natives of the Americas prepared several types of baijus and other dishes derived from cassava. Aro, cassava dough baiju with smoked and ground armadillo. Baijuaceae, baiju made from sieved and toasted cassava dough. Baiju cambrea, made with tapioca dough, white, tender and almost transparent. Baiju Karaima, baiju used to make kaksarai at the girls' puberty party. Baijusica, made from fresh cassava dough, sliced and toasted, with the appearance of a puff pastry. Baijukurua, made from manioc dough, salt and grated chestnuts, wrapped in a banana leaf and roasted. Baiju the Kuruba, similar to the Baiju Curaçao, but the cashew nut or Brazil nut are added in pieces and not grated. Baiju Kuroke, large and flat, made from granulated tapioca with grated cashew nuts or Brazil nuts. Curled baiju, normal baiju, but that is curled instead of folded in two. Baiju Mambika, a type of soft baiju, which was not roasted, just heated for the dough to agglutinate. Baiju Mapata, wrapped in banana leaves and roasted over ashes. Baiju Pateca, small long baiju made of puba manioc dough, nuts and fat. Baiju Pixuna, used in travel, is large and dark. New World native making baiju. Baiju Pakika, roast wrapped in banana leaf, containing only cassava dough and salt. Baijutica, made from fresh cassava flour with water flour. Baijutica, made from dry and pounded manioc puba. Baijutanin, dried in the sun until hardened. Baijutininga, very durable and made from puba cassava flour, which is pounded after roasting. Baijutipioca, from sieved and roasted flour. Another type of baiju without a specific name was made with cassava dough with game meat previously roasted and pounded. Baijuzisica, flour porridge made by the Krakana of Roraima. Kaksarite cassava dough is cooked with plenty of water and fermentation is caused by adding leftover baiju or by chewing the dough. Peanut calm, a type of porridge made with manioc flour, roasted in ground peanuts, and sometimes corn flour. Chibe, non-alcoholic drink made by mixing manioc flour with water. Cured, similar to baiju, but richer in starch and thicker. Cassava crop, showing roots and manioc. Cassava flour, the grated mass of fresh cassava, was mixed with that of puba. Puba cassava is left to soak in water for a few days. The dough was squeezed by hand and then with the aid of the tipitai, to release most of its liquid, which was used to make tucupi. The dough was toasted in a shallow-edged circular container made of clay. Some tribes made flour only from fresh manioc. They produced two more types of flour, the war flour, which contained only fresh manioc and was very cooked, and the soft flour made from puba manioc. The first was also called dry flour and the second water flour. Both missionaries and soldiers in need of flour induced the indigenous people to produce for them, in a way forcing them to make larger and larger manioc fields. It is inho, cassava porridge from the Kalapalo of Mato Grosso. Canopy, the Cayabes of Mato Grosso made a type of round bread stuffed with peanuts, which they called canopy. To do this, grated cassava was pounded in a pestle, passed through a sieve and cooked with whole roasted peanuts and a little sweet cassava. When it reached the right point, the dough was left to cool, and with it round loaves were made that were baked in the grinder. When it was time to eat them, the breads were heated in the embers, getting toasted. Kipu liquid prepared with manioc leaves that were left to age for 3 or 4 days, then boiled. Roasted cassava, the Indians also roasted whole soft cassava to eat. Manioc, a poisonous broth that comes out of the squeezed cassava. After boiling, turn the tucupi. Manicura or manipura was the liquid obtained when grated cassava was squeezed and left to rest for a few days or heated to eliminate toxic substances. It was much appreciated pure or in kaksarai. With the addition of yam, sweet potato, or fruit, a thin soup was made. Porridge, the Cayabes of Mato Grosso prepared porridge by cutting the sweet manioc into 2 or 3 pieces without peeling it, grating it, squeezing it, and cooking the juice for a long time. Then sprinkle was added to thicken. Another way of doing this was by grating the sweet manioc and cooking it in its own liquid, to which corn or manioc flour was added, in addition to boiled and mashed sweet potatoes and yams. Patinga porridge, grated cassava mixed with milk, cow or coconut, and brought to a boil to thicken. Tapioca porridge, tapioca was boiled in water until it formed a gummy substance, to which salt, sugar or fruit juice was added. The toucans of the Amazon ate this porridge in the morning. Cassava bread, the Crixanas of Roraima made a cassava bread that was baked in the mill and then eaten dissolved in water. War bread, made by the Indians of Euphorbiaceae in the Amazon, the war bread, whose raw material was manioc flour, had a greenish surface due to the fungi and algae that developed on it when it was stored. Paparuto savory cake made from manioc, sweet manioc, and game meat from the timbiras of Maranhão, Para, and Tocantins. Grated manioc is spread over the center of wild banana leaves arranged in a cross. On top of this, pieces of game meat weighing about 200 grams are placed and covered with grated cassava. The arms of the cross are folded over the dough, forming a square 1 meter on a side and a few centimeters thick, which is tied with imbaira. Very hot pebbles, having been left on the wood of a fire, are scattered on the ground and the package with the mass is placed on them. The package receives other hot boulders on top and everything is covered with wild banana leaves and palm leaves are deposited on top of them. Finally, everything is covered with earth, staying that way all night. Paparuto can be made with another type of meat or fish and the pasta can be corn or broad beans. Pizarragu manioc bread from the Calapalos of Mato Grosso. Polvilho, the liquid that flows from the cassava mass is allowed to settle, forming a fine powder at the bottom of the container. When the powder was cooked, it became a Baiju-like food. Tapioca, the starch is washed, decanted several times, then dried and passed on a hot plate, when it forms granules. Tucupi liquid that flowed from the pressed mass of puba manioc, which was then boiled until it became a syrupy and dark substance, being called black tucupi. When the liquid was seasoned with salt, pepper and garlic and exposed to the sun, it was called simple tucupi, and, when moderately boiled, boiled tucupi. Sauce for all types of meat. Nutritional information. The following table contains the nutritional information for 100 g, which is equivalent to approximately 3 full tablespoons of cooked cassava. Components: 100 g, 3 tablespoons full of cooked cassava. Energy: 125 calories. Protein: 0.6 g. Carbohydrates: 30.1 g. Fat: 0.3 g. Fiber: 1.9 g. Vitamin C: 18.2 milligrams. Vitamin A: 13 micrograms. Carotenoids 13 micrograms. Folic acid 24 micrograms. Calcium 19 milligrams. Potassium 100 milligrams. Magnesium 27 milligrams. Phosphor 22 milligrams. The 10 benefits of cassava. Cassava, also known as cassava or maniva, is a tuber like the potato, for example, but it is a good source of fiber that can help control blood glucose and cholesterol levels, thus helping to prevent diseases such as diabetes, heart attack, and stroke, and also improve intestinal transit. Because it contains good amounts of resistant starch, a type of carbohydrate that is not digested and that also acts as fiber in the body, cassava serves as food for the beneficial bacteria in the intestine, improving digestion and helping to prevent situations such as constipation, gastritis, or intestinal cancer. Cassava is usually sold at fairs and supermarkets, and can be used cooked, as an accompaniment to eggs, meats and salads, as a base in the preparation of soups, cakes, breads, purees, or in baked form, as an aperitif. In addition, cassava is also used in food production, such as tapioca, flour, sago, and Baiju. Because it contains good amounts of fiber, in addition to vitamin C and carotenoids, the main health benefits of cassava consumption are: 1. Prevent cardiovascular disease. Cassava has good amounts of fiber, compounds that reduce the absorption of fat from food, helping to reduce the levels of bad cholesterol, LDL, in the blood, preventing diseases such as heart attack, atherosclerosis, and stroke. In addition, cassava also contains potassium and magnesium, minerals that help eliminate excess sodium in the urine and promote relaxation of the arteries, preventing high blood pressure. 2. Improve energy and disposition. Because it contains a high content of carbohydrates, cassava helps to improve energy and disposition for long periods of the day, being a great option especially for people who practice physical activities or who spend a lot of energy during work, as in the case of bricklayers, postmen, rural workers, and garbage collectors. 3. Help control diabetes. Cassava can help control diabetes because it contains fiber and resistant starch, which help to slow down the absorption of sugar, promoting the balance of blood glucose levels. 4. Promote healthy skin, hair, and nails. Cassava is a source of vitamin C, a nutrient that helps increase the production and absorption of collagen in the body, improving skin and hair elasticity, as well as strengthening nails. 5. Improve digestion. Resistant starch, present in good amounts in cassava, balances the intestinal flora, improving digestion and helping to prevent situations such as gastritis and ulcers. 6. Strengthen the immune system. By containing vitamin C, vitamin A, and carotenoids, compounds with potent antioxidant action, cassava helps to strengthen the immune system cells against infections, promoting the prevention of flu, allergies, and colds, for example. 7. Aid in weight loss. Cassava has great amounts of resistant starch and fiber, nutrients that decrease digestion time, and therefore, cassava helps to prolong satiety, decreasing hunger throughout the day and aiding in weight loss. 8. Prevents some types of cancer. By containing good amounts of vitamin C, flavonoids, carotenoids, and vitamin A, compounds with antioxidant action, cassava helps to fight excess free radicals and strengthen the immune system, helping to prevent some types of cancer, such as intestine, stomach, and mom. 9. Improve mood. The resistant starch present in cassava promotes the balance of beneficial bacteria in the gut, favoring the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter responsible for regulating and improving mood and general well-being. 10. Avoid constipation. Pectin and beta-glucans, fibers present in cassava, help to hydrate and facilitate the elimination of feces, thus preventing constipation. In addition, cassava contains resistant starch, a type of carbohydrate that serves as food for the beneficial bacteria in the intestine, promoting the balance of intestinal flora and preventing constipation. Is cassava fattening? Cassava contains good amounts of carbohydrates and calories that, when consumed in excess, can make you fat. However, cassava has good amounts of fiber that help to prolong satiety and decrease hunger throughout the day. Therefore, when consumed in moderation, cassava can be a good option to help with weight loss. Did you like the nature of the Amazon channel? I ask you again to subscribe and activate the bell. Leave yours. Lay to strengthen the nature of the Amazon channel and share it with your friends and family so they can get to know our history of knowledge, and I say goodbye here. Bye.